She was left on her wedding day, until her boss whispered, "Pretend I'm your fiancé." Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support truly means the world to us. Where are you watching from today? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now let's go back to our main character. The church is full, yet impossibly quiet, a soft echo of breathing and shifting shoes trapped beneath stained glass. Lila Monroe stands at the altar in an ivory gown tailored to a body that has learned how to disappear. Her hands tremble, not because she doubts love, but because the microphone is still on, and the seat beside her remains empty. Minutes ago, she whispered "I do" to a room that believed in her. Now the silence presses in, heavy as winter. Lila does not cry. She counts breaths, 3 in, 4 out, the way she teaches anxious brides when everything feels too big. This wedding is not a fantasy, it is a portfolio. Every candle, every ribbon, every place card was arranged by her hands after long nights and longer days. Mark Hale promised stability, a life where her talent could finally be seen, yet he measured her worth by rooms and last names. The whispering grows, and Lila feels the familiar urge to vanish. She turns, ready to lift the skirt and run, when a presence steadies the air. Ethan Cross steps forward from the aisle's shadow, composed, unhurried, the man who owns the building yet never raises his voice. He leans close enough that his words are only for her. "Pretend I'm your fiancé," he breathes. "Walk with me. I'll handle the rest." The choice arrives like a held note. If she leaves, she loses everything she built in plain sight. If she stays, she steps into a lie that feels safer than truth. Lila nods. Ethan offers his arm. Together they move, measured and quiet, through stunned faces. Cameras rise, then lower, unsure. The aisle shortens. The music resumes on instinct. Lila keeps her gaze forward, sensing that whatever comes next will change her life, not with noise, but with a whisper. The crowd exhales, uncertain, and the officiant hesitates, searching for a cue. Lila feels Ethan's thumb warm against her sleeve, a promise of control without ownership. She remembers learning to be small, to apologize for wanting more than survival. This moment asks her to stand. Ethan murmurs her name, barely sound, and the sound anchors her. Outside, traffic rolls by, ordinary, unaware that a story has pivoted inside these walls. Somewhere in the back, Mark's absence becomes a fact, not a wound, and Lila understands the difference. The vows are postponed, not broken. The guests accept the shape of things because people follow confidence. Ethan supplies it, steady as a lighthouse. When the doors close behind them, Lila's pulse slows. She wonders who this man is when no one is watching, and what he will ask in return. For now, there is only the walk, the borrowed arm, and the fragile safety of being chosen in front of everyone. The whisper lingers, a thin thread pulling her forward, promising consequences and courage in equal measure. She does not know how long the lie will last, only that tonight she will not be left. The aisle ends, the doors open, and the future waits, quiet, close, listening. Stay with us, because what began as rescue will soon demand truth, and every truth carries a price paid in whispers. As they step into the hall, Lila senses the night narrowing, choices sharpening, and a heart bracing for impact. Somewhere between courage and caution, she decides to keep walking, one quiet step at a time, trusting the whisper that saved her to tell the rest of the story soon for us now. By the time the doors close behind them, the noise returns in a controlled rush, 100 small reactions folding into one. Lila feels it in her shoulders first, the weight she has carried since dawn, the careful smiles, the hidden checklists, the quiet fear that today had to work because she needed it to. Ethan releases her arm only after the hallway curves, after the last camera loses its angle. He does not ask if she is all right. He simply slows, matching her breath until it steadies. Lila presses a palm to her ribs, feeling the heartbeat settle. This wedding was never only about love. It was proof that the girl who grew up counting tips and favors could build something elegant from nothing. Proof that the planner who worked in borrowed heels and late nights could stand at the center and be chosen. Mark understood the optics. He liked how she made rooms look better than they were. He did not like how little credit she required. He promised a future where she would not have to ask permission to dream, then quietly taught her which dreams were acceptable. When she proposed the guest list, he cut names. When she suggested the venue, he corrected her taste. When she asked for time, he said after the wedding. Today was supposed to be the end of waiting. Lila glances at Ethan, searching for the cost of his calm. He owns this place. The chandeliers answer to him. Yet he walks beside her as if the power were incidental, as if it were possible to borrow steadiness without debt. Guests spill into the corridor, their expressions recalibrating, relieved to follow a confident story rather than an uncomfortable truth. The officiant murmurs about timing. A coordinator asks where to direct the florist. Lila answers on instinct, voice level, decisions clean. This is her language. She moves through it with ease, even now. Ethan watches, impressed and quiet. He understands the math. If the ceremony collapses, the venue becomes a headline, the brand bruised by spectacle. If it holds, the story bends toward grace. He is not rescuing her out of kindness alone. He is managing risk. That clarity should sting. It does not. It steadies her. Because risk management feels honest. They stop near the side doors. Lila sees her reflection in the glass, the gown she stitched and restitched to save money, the veil pinned just right. She looks like someone who belongs here. She has always belonged. She simply needed the room to admit it. Ethan leans close again, careful, professional, the whisper returning like a handrail. We can pause the vows, he says softly. We can reframe. No explanations yet. I will take the questions. She nods. The terms are unspoken, but clear. He will carry the weight in public. She will keep the machinery running. Together, they can keep the day intact. Somewhere behind them, Mark becomes a smaller shape, a missing piece that no longer defines the picture. Lila feels a sharp, clean line cut through the panic. She does not need him to be brave. She needs him to be absent. As the guests settle, Lila steps forward, posture tall. She realizes something simple and dangerous. If this works, the lie will grow. If it grows, it will demand rules. Boundaries. A timeline. She is good at plans. She can survive this. The music swells again, obedient, and Lila leads the room back into order. Ethan remains at her side, not touching, not leaving. The night holds its breath. What began as a rescue is becoming an arrangement, and arrangements always ask for a signature. Lila senses it coming. The next ask, the quiet bargain that will turn a single whisper into a shared script. And as she steps back into the light, she decides that if she must pretend, she will do it on her own terms, because she has learned the hardest lesson already. Being left hurts. Being unseen is worse. Tonight, she refuses both, and the story leans forward, listening. The reception hall hums back to life with a careful optimism, the kind people use when they want a story to end well. Lila moves through it with practiced grace, accepting congratulations that land oddly on her shoulders, compliments that assume certainty she does not yet possess. Ethan stays near without hovering, a steady perimeter that keeps questions at bay. When a guest leans in, curious, he answers with ease, not details, just enough confidence to redirect the room. Lila notices how he chooses his words, how he offers the minimum and never corrects her name when someone assumes it is already his. The band begins a soft set, glasses clink, and the night chooses continuity over chaos. At a quiet corner near the tall windows, Ethan finally speaks again, low and measured. We should step outside for a moment, he says. Fresh air will help. The patio opens onto the city, lights stretching for miles like a held breath. The cool evening settles the heat in her cheeks. Lila exhales, then laughs once, short and surprised, the sound of pressure releasing. Thank you, she says, because there is no other word that fits. Ethan nods, accepting it without claiming credit. We need alignment, he replies. If we are doing this, it needs rules. The word lands cleanly. Rules are familiar ground. Lila straightens, feeling the planner in her takeover. What kind of rules, she asks. He considers, gaze steady on the skyline. Public clarity, private boundaries. No interviews. No explanations beyond engagement. We keep it simple. She studies him, weighing the offer. Simple as a promise and a risk. How long? She asks. Long enough to let the story cool, he answers. Weeks, not years. She nods again, calculating timelines, the way narratives fade when nothing feeds them. Inside, laughter swells. Outside, the night feels honest. Lila asks the question that matters. Why me? Ethan does not flinch. Because you held the room when it tried to swallow you, he says. Because you did not ask me to save you. And because the venue needs a clean ending. He does not dress it up. The truth steadies her. She can work with truth. A server opens the door to check on them. Relief obvious when Ethan answers smoothly. All set. We will rejoin shortly. When the door closes, Lila notices her hands are no longer shaking. She thinks of Mark, of the way he always needed to be seen rescuing her, the way his help came with conditions he never named. Ethan names them. That matters. Back inside, the photographer approaches, hesitant. A few photos, just to anchor the moment. Ethan looks to Lila, waiting. She nods. They stand side by side, not touching until the camera lifts, then close enough to read is certain. The flash captures a quiet alignment, a lie that looks like composure. Lila watches the photographer's shoulders drop. The room follows suit. Later, when the cake is cut and the speech is redirected, Lila finds herself guiding the flow with Ethan's subtle cues. He whispers once more, a single instruction at her ear. 2 minutes, then exit. She smiles, surprised at how natural it feels to be guided without being diminished. As they move toward the doors again, her phone buzzes. A message from an unknown number lights the screen. I am sorry. Please call me. Mark. Lila does not respond. She slips the phone into her clutch and keeps walking. Outside, the night has cooled further, the city unbothered by small human drama. Ethan checks his watch. I will have my assistant draft a brief statement, he says. You can approve it before anything goes out. She thanks him, then pauses. If we are pretending, she says carefully, I need one thing. He waits. I need you to let me keep my work. This does not erase who I am. Ethan meets her eyes. Agreed. He extends his hand, not as a romantic gesture, but as a contract offered in daylight. Lila takes it. The shake is brief, professional, and oddly intimate. Inside, the band crescendos as if sensing a conclusion. Outside, an arrangement takes shape, quiet and deliberate. Lila feels the edge of it, the way plans always sharpen before they commit. She also feels something unexpected, a calm curiosity about the man who did not rush to claim her, who chose alignment over spectacle. As they re-enter together, the room opens for them, and Lila understands that the hardest part is not the pretending. It is what will happen when pretending begins to feel like home, and the night, patient and close, seems to be waiting for that truth to surface. Morning arrives without ceremony. Pale light sliding across the hotel suite. Ethan arranged with the efficiency of someone who plans exits before entrances. Lila wakes fully dressed on the sofa, veil folded on the chair like a memory she does not need to touch yet. Her phone vibrates with notifications she does not open. She counts seconds, then sits, grounding herself in the familiar weight of responsibility. The night did not end the story. It sharpened it. Ethan appears from the kitchenette with 2 cups of coffee, black for him, milk for her, remembered without being asked. We should get ahead of this, he says quietly, setting the cup within reach, never crowding her space. Lila nods. Ahead means statements, optics, the clean geometry of words that keep people from inventing worse ones. He slides a tablet across the table. A draft waits, brief and unadorned, confirming an engagement without dates or details. Lila reads it twice. It says nothing that can be contradicted later. She approves with a tap. Downstairs, the lobby breathes with curiosity. Staff offer smiles that are careful, practiced. A reporter waits by the doors, then 2 more, cameras poised like held questions. Ethan steps first, a shield that does not announce itself. Lila follows, posture tall, chin level. He answers once, calmly, then ends it. We appreciate your interest. We are focusing on family today. The word family lands softly, ambiguous and safe. They move past the cameras together, the city accepting the version offered because it is tidy and confident. In the car, silence settles. Lila studies her reflection in the window, the woman she looks like now, composed, credible. She feels the weight of what she agreed to, the thin line between borrowed steadiness and self-erasure. Ethan breaks the quiet with logistics. I will have my assistant coordinate schedules. We will need a few public appearances, nothing theatrical. She listens, then asks the question she has been holding. What happens when they ask for a date? Ethan considers. We say soon, he replies. Soon buys time without debt. Time matters. At the office, his assistant greets them with a look that holds surprise and respect. Papers move. Calendars shift. The machine adjusts. Lila watches it with a professional eye. She has tuned machines before. During a pause, Ethan turns to her. There is something else, he says. My mother will want to meet you. Not today. Soon. The word returns. Lila feels a ripple of nerves, then steadies. She can meet anyone. She has learned how to read rooms. What she has not learned is how to be read without shrinking. We will prepare, she says, and surprises herself with the calm in her voice. Later, alone in a quiet conference room, Lila finally opens her phone. Messages flood in, sympathy, curiosity, assumptions. Mark's name appears again. She deletes it without reading. The decision feels clean. The work remains. She steps out to the terrace for air, city noise rising like a promise of continuity. Ethan joins her, leaning on the rail at a respectful distance. I should say this plainly, he murmurs. You can end this at any point. Lila looks at him, weighing the offer. Plainness matters. She nods once. And you can end it too. Agreed. They stand, parallel lines facing the same view. The sun climbs. Across town, the venue resets rooms for another event, flowers repurposed, chairs aligned. Lila thinks of the planners she trained, of the studio she dreams of opening, of the way last night proved she can hold a room under pressure. The lie did not create her strength. It revealed it. Ethan's phone buzzes. A message flashes from a board member. Congratulations. He silences it, returns his attention to her. We will set boundaries, he says. Clear ones. She appreciates the promise. Boundaries keep stories from devouring their authors. When they head back inside, an envelope waits on the table, discreet. A preliminary agreement, short and fair, outlining appearances, timelines, discretion. Lila reads it carefully, pen poised. She notices the clauses protecting her work, her independence. She signs, then pauses, adding one line by hand. Mutual consent required for any change. Ethan reads it, then signs without comment. The ink dries. The arrangement becomes real. As they leave the room together, Lila feels the click of a door closing behind her and another opening ahead. This path is narrower than she imagined and safer than she expected. She does not know where it leads, only that it will ask her to stay present, to listen closely, to decide what kind of truth she wants at the end. The city hums on, patient, and the story takes its next step, quiet and deliberate, inviting her to walk it without apology. The first public test arrives sooner than expected, packaged as an invitation that pretends to be optional. A charity gala scheduled for the following week lands on Ethan's calendar with a note from the board emphasizing optics and unity. Lila reads it once and understands the subtext. This is where the story either stabilizes or fractures. She prepares the way she always has, with lists and contingencies, rehearsing smiles that do not ask for approval. The night of the gala, the hotel ballroom glows with money and anticipation. Cameras track arrivals. Names are checked twice. When Ethan and Lila step onto the carpet together, the noise tightens into focus. He offers his arm. She takes it, measured, aligned. Inside, the room hums with recognition and judgment, 1,000 small calculations scanning for weakness. Lila feels it brush her skin, then pass. Ethan answers greetings with the same economy he used on the wedding night, never oversharing, never correcting assumptions that benefit them. A donor approaches with a joke that lands too close to the truth. Lila responds with warmth and redirection, steering the conversation toward the cause. The donor relaxes, impressed. A journalist leans in, microphone poised. Ethan tilts his head just enough to signal pause. We are here for the foundation, he says softly. The journalist retreats, satisfied with the boundary. Across the room, Ethan's mother watches, eyes sharp, posture perfect. She approaches without ceremony. Lila meets her gaze, offering respect without submission. Mrs. Cross speaks in a low voice that carries authority. You handled yourself well, she says. Not praise, an assessment. Lila thanks her, equally measured. The exchange ends without friction, which feels like a win. As the evening unfolds, a small crisis tests them. A sponsor becomes irritated when a seat is reassigned. The tension ripples. Lila steps in, calm, efficient, resolving the issue with an apology that does not concede fault and a solution that preserves dignity. The sponsor smiles again. Ethan watches, impressed, then leans close, whispering just for her. Good instincts. The words warm without binding. Later, during the speech, Ethan acknowledges the foundation's mission and pauses, just long enough, before thanking Lila for her support. The room reads meaning into the pause. Applause follows, generous and approving. Lila keeps her expression steady, feeling the strange lift of being seen without being exposed. When the music resumes, the night seems to exhale. In a quiet corridor near the restrooms, Lila checks her phone and sees a headline forming in real time, framed kindly. Engagement confirmed. Grace under pressure. She pockets the device without comment. Outside, on the terrace, the city offers air and distance. Ethan joins her, careful not to crowd. That went well, he says. She nods. Better than expected. He studies her for a beat. You were the difference. The compliment lands cleanly. She accepts it. Inside, laughter spills through open doors. The machine has been fed. On the drive back, silence settles again, companionable. Lila notices how the lie has begun to ask for nuance. It is no longer only about protection. It is about performance that honors reality. At the building entrance, Ethan pauses. There will be more appearances, he says. I will keep them minimal. She appreciates the restraint. At her door, she turns to him. One condition, she says, voice steady. If this starts to erase me, we stop. Ethan meets her gaze. Agreed. He waits as she steps inside, then leaves without watching her go. Alone, Lila removes her shoes and sits, the quiet returning like a held note finally released. She thinks of Mark and feels nothing sharp. She thinks of the room and feels capable. The gala did not change the agreement. It revealed the cost of doing it well. She senses the next test approaching, more personal, less public, the kind that does not announce itself. The story has moved from survival to scrutiny, and scrutiny always demands a deeper truth. As she turns out the light, Lila understands that the next step will ask her not just to perform, but to choose, and the night, attentive and close, seems to be waiting for that choice to be made. Weeks pass with a rhythm that feels borrowed yet steady, a calendar shared and color-coded, appearances spaced just far enough apart to let the story cool without fading. Lila learns the quiet language of Ethan's world, the pauses before decisions, the way a room listens when he lowers his voice. In return, he learns hers, the efficiency that comes from caring, the way she anticipates needs without erasing herself. They meet often but briefly, walking through lobbies, attending small fundraisers, posing for photos that suggest ease without intimacy. The rule holds. No interviews. No explanations. No nights together. The boundary keeps them safe, until it begins to feel like distance instead of protection. One evening after a late board dinner, rain traps them under the hotel awning. Traffic slows to a silver crawl. Ethan checks his phone, then pockets it. We can wait it out, he says. Lila nods, grateful for the pause. The rain softens the city, turning sound into a hush. They stand close enough to share warmth, not touching. Lila notices the faint crease between his brows, the mark of someone who carries more than he admits. You do not have to stay, she offers. He glances at her, then back at the rain. I want to, he replies, surprising them both. The words hang, unclaimed by expectation. Another night, a donor dinner runs late, and the driver takes a wrong turn. The car idles beneath a streetlight. Lila watches reflections slide across the glass. Ethan speaks without looking at her. When my father died, he says quietly, I learned to keep moving. People respect motion. They forgive silence. Lila listens, letting the confession land without turning it into a question. She understands silence. It was her first language. She answers with her own truth. I learned to make myself useful, she says. If I solve the problem, I earn the space. The car corrects its course. The city opens again. Neither speaks. The rule still holds, but something has shifted. At a small rooftop event weeks later, a gust of wind chills the crowd. Lila shivers. Ethan removes his jacket without comment and drapes it over her shoulders. Careful. Professional. The gesture is public, but reads as courtesy. The warmth surprises her. She thanks him, returns it at the end of the night, fingers brushing by accident. Both step back, as if reminded of the line. The line feels thinner now. At the office, his assistant schedules a meeting that places them in the same room for hours. They work side by side, reviewing plans for a community initiative. Lila proposes a structure that centers local vendors. Ethan listens, asks questions, improves the budget without diluting the idea. When the meeting ends, he lingers. You should lead this, he says. It is your vision. The trust lands deeper than applause. Later, alone in her apartment, Lila considers the agreement folded in a drawer. It has protected her, given her space to breathe. It has also brought a man into her orbit who does not ask her to be smaller to fit. The realization unsettles her. During a weekend charity run, cameras capture them laughing at something small, unguarded. The image circulates, warm and human. The story thickens. That night, Ethan calls, not about optics. Are you all right? He asks. She hesitates, then answers honestly. I am not sure, she says. He understands the answer. The next time they meet, it is planned, deliberate. A quiet dinner in a corner booth, lights low. They review boundaries aloud, respectful and clear. No sleeping together. No declarations. No press. The rules remain, but the tone changes. They are choosing restraint, not hiding. When they leave, the city feels different, closer. On the sidewalk, a couple passes, arguing softly, then laughing. Lila watches them and feels a tug she does not name. Ethan notices. He leans close, whispering as he always does, but the meaning has shifted. We are allowed to be human, he says. The words steady her and unsettle her at once. The rule has protected them from chaos. It cannot protect them from feeling. As the weeks deepen, the quiet moments multiply, the shared looks, the almost touches, the conversations that stop just short of confession. The arrangement is still intact, but it is no longer neutral. It asks something new. One evening, as they part at her door, Ethan pauses, hand hovering, then dropping. Good night, he says. Lila answers, matching the restraint. The door closes. She leans against it, heart loud in the silence. She understands now that the next test will not come from cameras or donors. It will come from the space between them, where pretending has begun to feel like truth, and truth is asking to be spoken. The fracture arrives disguised as logistics, a calendar update that places Lila and Ethan at a shareholder briefing followed by a private dinner she did not schedule. She reads the invite twice, senses the pressure baked into polite language, and goes anyway because avoidance has never saved her. The boardroom is cool and precise, glass and silence arranged to favor certainty. Ethan presents clean numbers and controlled vision. Lila sits at the edge of the table, present but peripheral, until a voice interrupts with practiced charm. Mark Hale steps in late, apology ready, smile fixed, a familiar gravity that once bent her choices without asking. He greets the room as if he belongs there, then looks at Lila as if she never did. The air tightens. Mark congratulates Ethan on his engagement, tone light, eyes sharp. He thanks Lila for her planning expertise, phrased as a footnote. Lila feels the old reflex rise, then settles it. She is not here to be small. Ethan acknowledges Mark with civility, moves the agenda forward. The meeting ends with restrained applause and a directive to keep momentum. In the hallway, Mark catches Lila's arm, gentle enough to read as concern. We need to talk, he says. She pulls free, measured. Not here. He smiles as if indulging her. Tonight, then. She does not answer. At the dinner, the room is smaller, more intimate, designed to amplify truth. Mark chooses his seat across from them, the triangle set. He waits for the server to leave before speaking. You should know, he says, turning to Lila, that Ethan knew I was not coming to the wedding. The words land softly, engineered to cut. Lila looks at Ethan, searching his face. He does not interrupt. Mark continues, precise. The venue flagged as scheduling conflict days earlier. Ethan asked questions. He prepared. He was ready to step in. He smiles, satisfied. Lila feels heat bloom behind her eyes. Not tears, something sharper. She waits for Ethan to deny it. Ethan breathes, then speaks quietly. I knew there was a risk, he says. I prepared to protect the venue. I did not cause your absence. The truth is clean and insufficient. Lila hears the gap, the place where preparation shades into opportunity. The agreement echoes in her mind. Risk management, honesty. She stands. Thank you for telling me, she says to Mark, then turns to Ethan. I need air. Outside, the city feels louder than it should. Ethan follows at a respectful distance. Lila stops beneath a streetlight and turns. Did you plan it? She asks, voice steady. He meets her gaze. I planned for chaos, he answers. I did not plan for you. The distinction lands wrong. To Lila, it sounds like calculus. She thinks of the aisle, the whisper, the way safety arrived exactly when it benefited him. The thought hurts because it might be true. I was a solution, she says. Ethan shakes his head. You were a person in a storm. I offered shelter. She laughs once, brittle. Shelter with terms. With cameras. With timelines. He does not argue. I protected you, he says. I protected us. The word us flares and fades. Lila feels the ground tilt. She reaches into her bag and takes out the ring they have worn for appearances, the symbol that made rooms behave. She places it in his palm. The metal is cool, final. I cannot pretend this was not calculated, she says. Not anymore. Ethan closes his fingers around the ring, pain controlled but visible. If you leave now, the story will turn, he says, not as a threat, as a fact. Lila nods. Then it turns. She steps back. Mark appears at the edge of the light, watching, satisfied. Ethan speaks again, low, urgent. Let me explain everything. She shakes her head. Not tonight. She walks away, heart loud, steps steady. At home, she sits on the floor and breathes until the room stops spinning. Messages arrive, headlines shifting tone, speculation sharpening. She ignores them. She thinks of the moments that felt real, the jacket, the pauses, the way he listened. She wonders if care can coexist with calculation or if one cancels the other. Across town, Ethan stands under the streetlight, ring heavy in his pocket, understanding too late that preparation can look like manipulation when love is involved. The night holds both truths without resolving them. The arrangement fractures, the whisper goes quiet, and the story leans into its most dangerous question yet, whether honesty can rebuild what strategy has broken, or whether some rescues arrive already compromised, asking a price neither of them intended to pay. Days pass with a disciplined quiet that feels like recovery and exile at once, and Lila fills them with work because work has always told her who she is when stories break. She secures a small warehouse space with tall windows and honest light, the kind that forgives dust and rewards effort, and she begins to build the studio she postponed for other people's timelines. She meets vendors, drafts proposals, and refuses interviews with a courtesy that closes doors without slamming them. The narrative outside sharpens, then softens, as narratives do when denied oxygen. Ethan does not call. He sends one message only, short and plain, offering transparency without pressure. When you are ready, I will answer everything. She leaves it unread for a day, then reads it twice, not responding. On the third evening, as she locks up, a familiar steadiness enters the room without announcement. Ethan stands by the door, jacket folded over his arm. No cameras, no assistant. Just him and the echo of the space she chose. I did not come to convince you, he says quietly. I came to tell you what you deserve to know. Lila does not move. She nods once. He speaks without flourish, mapping the days before the wedding, the alerts, the contingency plans that are his habit, the call he made to the officiant to prepare a pause, not a replacement. I did not expect to step in, he says. I prepared because I prepare. When I whispered, it was not strategy. It was a decision. The distinction arrives without drama. Lila listens, hands steady, heart guarded. He continues, naming the ways he benefited, the way the story protected his brand, the way protection and advantage braided together until intention blurred. I should have told you what I knew, he says. I chose control over candor. That is on me. Silence follows, honest and heavy. Lila crosses the room and opens a window. The city answers with noise and air. She turns back to him. You saved the day, she says. You also shaped it. Both are true. Ethan nods. I am not asking you to erase either truth. I am asking you to choose with full information. He reaches into his pocket and places the ring on the table between them, not offering it, not withdrawing it, simply setting it down as an object stripped of symbolism. The choice sits there, plain. Lila studies it, then him. She thinks of the moments that felt real because they were quiet and unperformed. She thinks of the times she made herself useful to earn space, and the man who learned to keep moving to avoid grief. She understands now that love does not cure habits. It asks for work. I will not pretend anymore, she says. Not for rooms. Not for stories. Ethan answers without hesitation. Then do not. He steps back, creating space on purpose. Lila closes the window and picks up the ring, weighing it once, then sets it aside. This is not about an engagement, she says. This is about whether you can stand with me without managing me. He meets her gaze. I am learning how. Not quickly, not perfectly, but honestly. The words matter because he does not promise ease. He promises effort. Lila exhales. She looks around the studio, the future she claimed without permission. If we try, she says, it will be here, not on a carpet. No statements. No schedules. He agrees. And I will show up when asked, not before. The terms feel like a bridge built with care. Lila considers the cost. She has learned the danger of borrowed steadiness. She has also learned the power of choosing presence. She extends her hand, not for a ring, for alignment. Ethan takes it, gentle, unclaimed. The touch is brief and grounding. Outside, the city continues, uninterested in conclusions. Inside, something resolves without closing. As Ethan turns to leave, Lila speaks once more, soft. This is a beginning, not a repair. He nods, understanding the weight of the difference. When the door closes, Lila stands in the light and feels the quiet thrill of a choice made without fear. The story has not ended. It has narrowed, clarified, and stepped into a truth that will be tested not by spectacle, but by consistency. She turns back to her plans, heart steady, knowing the next step will ask both of them to prove that whispers can become promises when they are spoken in daylight. The opening night of Lila's studio arrives quietly, without banners or press releases, just warm lights spilling onto the sidewalk and a hand-lettered sign taped inside the window. Friends, vendors, neighbors drift in, curious and supportive, carrying stories instead of expectations. The space feels lived in already, tables arranged with care, flowers chosen for resilience rather than trend. Lila moves through the room with an ease she earned, greeting people by name, listening more than speaking, grounded in the work she built without permission. Near the back, Ethan arrives without announcement. No entourage, no cameras, simply present. He keeps his distance until she notices him, then offers a small smile that asks rather than assumes. She nods, granting space. They stand together by the windows as the city hums outside, the same city that once watched them perform certainty. Tonight, they do not perform. A neighbor asks how they met. Lila answers honestly. On a hard day. The neighbor laughs and moves on. The truth lands and holds. Later, as the room thins and the lights soften, Ethan steps closer. I wanted to wait, he says quietly, until this was yours. Lila appreciates the restraint. He reaches into his pocket and takes out something folded, not a ring. It is a single page, a lease addendum granting the studio favorable terms for 5 years, signed and sealed, no press, no strings. I did not want my help to become the headline, he says. She reads it once, then again, feeling gratitude without debt. Thank you, she says, and means it without hesitation. Outside, the night cools. They step onto the sidewalk together. Ethan stops beneath the glow of the streetlight where their story once fractured. He takes a breath, then speaks, voice low, steady. This time, do not pretend, he says. Lila studies his face, the man who learned to pause, to ask, to show his work. Then do not save me, she answers softly. Stand with me. He nods, understanding the terms. He takes out the ring, not flashing it, not kneeling for an audience that is not there. He holds it between them, open palm, waiting. Lila does not rush. She thinks of the aisle and the whisper that kept her standing, of the rules that protected them and the honesty that rebuilt them. She slips the ring on, not as rescue, but as choice. They share a quiet laugh, the release of a story earned. Months later, they marry in the studio after hours, a small circle, borrowed chairs, music low. No speeches, just vows spoken plainly, promises shaped by work rather than spectacle. Lila walks toward Ethan without Fear of being left. Ethan waits without urge to manage. The kiss is brief and private, the applause gentle. Outside, the city continues, uninterested in fairy tales, grateful for consistency. As the lights dim and guests drift away, Lila lingers, hand in his, looking at the room that held her courage. She thinks of the lesson she learned the hard way and shares it quietly with the audience who has walked this story with her. Sometimes love arrives as a whisper, not to save you, but to ask if you will stand. True partnership is not about status or rescue, but about honesty, patience, and choosing each other in daylight. If this story moved you, take a moment to like the video so more people can find it. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications for more dramatic stories told softly. And if you know someone who needs a reminder that kindness and integrity still matter, share this with them. Thank you for listening, for believing in quieter courage, and for being here to the end.